I think we're okay now.
Okay, thank you, Jackie. Okay, we will begin again. And the next question, I am pleased to say, is for everyone. So just to give you a heads up, the first to go will be Mr. Frederick, then Ms. Bruno, then Mr. Gillot, and then Ms. Jablonski here. So let me give you the question. The League of Women Voters is committed to increasing citizen involvement in local government. This starts with how we teach our kids. How will you prioritize civic education? Mr. Frederick, begin.
I think,
There you go.
I think civic education obviously is a key point in any young child's upbringing, and I think it has fallen off in recent decades. You know, I went as a small child into the voting booth with my mom. I remember closing the curtain back when there were curtains back in the day. And I think just, you know, things like the Children's Museum, their voting exhibit, I saw it last week, I think is great. And I think that things like that need to be a keystone and an integral part of what our classes are around, you know. So it's part of social studies, but it really should be, you know, there should be several weeks of each year dedicated to that.
I agree with Andy. Also, a month ago, I spent 2 weeks in 4 different countries in 10 different cities. And I just want you to all know that I am so proud to be an American. I just think that we are so lucky that we live in such a great country, that we have the opportunity to vote. I just can't say enough about. And teaching our kids is so important, and starting at a young age. We should do everything we possibly can to show them that how lucky you are to live in a country that you have the opportunity to vote. I think it starts from kindergarten on. Kids do get that opportunity when they run for student council, when they run for anything in the school. They have that opportunity, which shows them. We want to continue that for the kids in our community. And all community. And I just want to take a minute and thank, if there's any veterans here, thank you so much for your service. Truly, I truly respect everything any veteran has ever done for this country.
Okay, now, you do have an opportunity for rebuttal. Mr. Frederick.
Oh.
Yeah, just, you know, one other thing is, you know, recently I saw on a headline today that Twitter has banned political ads on their feeds, and I saw where a school district recently actually has built into the curriculum how to spot false information, you know, fake news. And I think that is actually becoming increasingly important in this day and age. It's a necessary life skill to be able to teach children to actually use a common sense and logic to see what is real, what is not, because unfortunately we live in the day and age where there's a lot of disinformation out there.
Okay, all right. The next person will be Mr. Gillot.
Just recently, I was superintendent. Each month we go to a different school. It's called Boardwalk. And we start off with elementary, then we went to the intermediate school, and this month we're going to the middle school, and of course in the high school. And it's so nice to see these students, and we were introduced as school board members, and they asked us questions just to get involved. And I said another thing, yeah, the school has responsibility, but I also say the parents also have responsibility, helping their young students to learn more about government.
So my daughter was in first grade last year, and I went into her classroom because her teacher said the kids wanted to know, what does the school board do? For those of you who live in the Lewisburg area, last year you'll remember that the Kelly cafeteria floor was rising. And so we had to spend nearly $1 million to correct that. And we also had to spend, in iPad replacement years, spend nearly $1 million on iPads. So I gave every single child, they were either a school board member, a member of the press, an administrator, or a member of the public with questions. And I explained to them what everyone's role was, And the members of the press really enjoyed their job because they got to write down all the comments. But the two people from the public enjoyed it most because what they got to do was say, oh my, when they found out that the things we were considering actually cost $1 million. I think it is activities like that when you talk to 6- and 7-year-olds and explain to them this is what local government does. When you take them to meetings, when you take them to candidates nights, those are the things that get little kids interested.
Okay, we are ready to move on to the next question. And this question is for all districts. On this one, we will begin with Mr. Jalot. So the question is, what is your position on students using facilities based on their gender identity? Mr. Jalot.
Well, I have mixed feelings on that. You know, it's whatever they were born as, that's the facilities they should use. You know, sometimes it, and I know I probably offend somebody, but if you're born a boy, you're a boy. If you're born a girl, you're a girl. And that's the way it should be. It's getting out of hand. And I know we're going to have to deal with it. And when that time comes for Mifflinburg, we will deal with it.
Ms. Jablonski?
Sure. Have y'all been to a restaurant recently where they have a sticker on the door and it's basically half an alien, half a person who might be in a wheelchair and some crazy hair, and it says, whatever, wash your hands? That's how I feel about it. I think that there are enough private bathrooms for people who feel uncomfortable going to either of the gendered bathrooms, and for the vast majority of the population, the gendered bathrooms will continue to be fine. So I think it is an easy thing to accommodate so that all kids feel safe, and so they don't feel embarrassed, or they don't feel that there's a stigma associated with it. There is too much suicide among all types of kids that have gender dysphoria, and a big part of that is the public stigma around people watching what they're going to do.
Ms. Bruno.
I agree with Pam. I just think that, you know what, just label the bathrooms they can have, basically they can use, make them feel as comfortable as possible. It's hard enough to be a young kid in school today. Make them feel comfortable. Let them have the opportunity to go and use a bathroom or whatever facility, but you have to make sure that the kids feel safe. Their safety is the most important thing. Not how they dress or their safety is the most important thing. And that's what we have to worry about.
I'll kind of echo some of the other candidates here. Basically, it is about the emotional well-being of these people and how they identify. So basically, it's a cultural shift. We've gone through many cultural shifts over the years. There were a time, 60 years ago where certain people couldn't sit at the same counter with other people. There has been times where, women were not allowed in the same college as men. We are at a turning point. It is time for people to educate themselves, realize that, this is not somebody doing this just to get a cheap thrill. This is how they actually view themselves. This is how they were born. It's not a choice. So basically, the schools need to get ahead of that and service them just like any other student in the district. They have emotional well-being that we need to care for.
Rebuttal from either of you?
No, I agree 100%.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay. The next question is also for everyone, and this one will begin with Mr. Frederick. You will answer this first. Do you see your role on the school board as one of setting policy or selecting items for purchase? What is the most important policy challenging the present school board?
So I think that, I've talked to several of the members of our school board, of other school boards, and they say, it really isn't as exciting as you think. So much of it is just, you're block approving,